And then what would be the like the distance on average? Do you have any idea of how far a wagon similar to the one we're looking at right now could go? I mean, I guess a lot of it will depend on topography and the geography, but any idea like on average how far?
Yeah, I mean, on the plains sections of a lot of these trails, they were making 20, 30 miles a day. Um, Now, once they got into either real sandy soils, that could really drag, where they're basically dragging the wagon through rather than riding on top of the ground surface, it could slow down the progress. But we have, journal entries actually of even just slight variations in topography, but it was becoming too steep for the wagon to completely, and the horses or the mules or ox or whatever they're using to pull the actual wagon, where they're actually just starting to dump a lot of their personal belongings. And it's, and this is an area actually just outside of Fort Laramie, Wyoming, and it really is not super steep topography, but it's just enough, and there's sandy enough soils that they needed to do some changes to the weight distribution and to make that time. But on average, they could get 20 miles to 30 miles on good terrain, far less depending on the topography.
That's actually pretty good. I mean, I'd expect it to be a lot less than that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
considering. And then I mean, I assume too the amount of stuff they're carrying, the supplies. Um, do we have any idea of how long some supplies would last on wagons like this, and for going on some of these trails before they had to stop somewhere and resupply?
Well, I guess it depends on which route that they were taking. Um, so for like the Santa Fe Trail, you had two major branches. One that kind of what was called the mountain branch that cut through after it, kind of diverged in southwestern Kansas, and it went through southeastern Colorado, um, and it was a longer route, but it stayed closer to water, and so it was an easier, in some sense, it was a more preferred route. Now, then there was another route called the Cimarron branch that would kind of cut through the very far east, southeastern corner of Colorado, and it was considered more of a dangerous route. One, because it was less had less access to water, but it cut the journey by a number of days. So you had to kind of balance. Okay, do I want to get across quickly and play, kind of a risk of I don't have as many access to supplies, or do I take it a little bit longer and hope that my supplies last? Um, and so there was only a handful, really, of major kind of stopping points along these routes of either fur trapping posts or military forts that were built by the U.S. government to help immigrants. And you kind of base, okay, when can I resupply and how much do I need for those distances? And so they're kind of scattered across. Usually, I think they were about 60 to 80 miles apart. It seemed about. So not always the case, but kind of generally.
Yeah, I think we got a taste of that definitely more in the game, the Oregon Trail, than we will in this
Mm-hmm.
game. But it so far, I mean, this looks amazing. I'm always so impressed with